All right, well, it is approximately 6:01 on April 21st, 2021, and we'll call to order our meeting of the Council on Family Resource Center. It is item 1.02, which is roll call. So I'm gonna ask maybe Lisa if you can call roll, if you don't mind. Or Wiley, do you want to do that since that's normally Rochelle?
You got those handy, Wiley? If not, I can pull them up.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do it. So we'll start off with Nita.
Present.
Thank you. Scott.
I'm here.
Vanessa.
Here.
Susan.
I'm here.
And for the record, it looks like Sherry O'Connell is not present. And then Brenda.
Here.
And last one is Christelle Avalos. But it looks like for the record, she is not present as well.
Thank you, Wiley. Item 1.03 is public comment. Comments from the public are invited at this time on topics not specifically addressed elsewhere in the agenda. Due to the current state of emergency declared by our governor, members of the public wishing to make public comment on the Council on Family Resource Centers must submit their comments via email to cfrccommittee@washoeschools.net. Any public comments received will be forwarded to the Council on Family Resource Centers for their consideration, consistent with the emergency provisions noted above. Do we have any public comment?
I didn't see anything in the emails, so nothing from that end.
Okay, perfect, thank you. With that, we'll move to item 1.04, action to adopt the agenda.
For the record, I'm Susan Siebert. I'll move to adopt the agenda for Wednesday, April 21st, 2021.
Thank you, Susan.
Nita, I'll second it.
Thank you, Nita. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Next up, we have our items under item 2, which are items for presentation, discussion, and possible action. Our first item is 2.01, which is the approval of our minutes of our January 20th, 2021 meeting on the Council of Family Resource Center. And those are in our meeting packet. If you need to review those, we certainly can.
I move to approve the minutes from our January meeting. This is Vanessa Vancourt.
Thank you, Vanessa.
I'll
Looking for a
second.
second.
Susan Siebert.
Thank you, Susan. We have a motion by Vanessa, a second by Susan. Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries unanimously. Item 2.02 is the presentation and discussion on the Family Resource Center's funding status and current grant applications. This is for information and discussion only. I believe I'm sending this one over to Lisa.
Thank you, Scott. So it has been grant season. We have been busy. So Brenda submitted her parenting grants, Children's Trust Fund and CB-CAP. Brenda, remind me of the acronym. Child Abuse Prevention.
Community Block. Yeah, Child Abuse Prevention.
So these two grants fund our parenting programs. So those went out the door in, was that March, Brenda?
March 19th. Yep.
So
March 19th.
That was a lot of effort. Kudos to Brenda. And we're waiting for response anticipated in May. And I was busy with our Title IV-B grants, which we again applied in 2 categories, family support and family preservation, requesting roughly $79,000 in each category. That went out at the beginning of April, and the response is anticipated, I believe it's later May. So we have those pending. Let's see, also wanted to mention that we participate in the meetings of the Family Stability Project that kind of grew out of an effort with the food bank and several other agencies. And as of late, it's morphed into trying to secure funding to establish a community school. So not to be confused with the Community in Schools nonprofit, of which we have several sites throughout the district. This is a model called Community Schools that really brings a lot of services for the community based on school sites, of which Desert Skies is one. So this group meets monthly and recently submitted a proposal. These are federal dollars that are available for school districts to create these programs. So highly competitive. There's only a few that are going to be awarded nationwide. But just to let you know that that was submitted as well. And I don't know the timeline on that. I guess it would be May as well. So we've got that pending as well. So that has been grant season. Does anyone have anything to add?
So Lisa, I'm just going to read the definition of, so a community school is both a place and a set of partnerships between the school and other community resources. Its integrated focus on academics, health and social services, youth and community development and community engagement leads to improved student learning, stronger families, and healthier communities. So Desert Skies was a pilot, shown as a pilot, and Sparks Middle. So there could be potential to expand into Sparks Middle, hopefully, if we get this grant. University of Nevada, Reno actually took the lead on it, but we have CHA involved, United Way, certainly the food bank, community in schools is also involved, Family Resource Center, and then multiple departments within our district. So cross your toes, everybody. Cross your toes on all of our grants because they're competitive.
I have a question about what you were just describing with the community school. So Desert Skies and Sparks Middle were pilots of this model as concept. So is the funding to continue those programs or to create a new school site?
So it would be to expand services at Desert Skies and create a site and services at Sparks Middle.
Great question, Vanessa. Are there any other questions from the council? Brenda, I don't know if this is the appropriate time to ask questions about the current grant that funds the program at Desert Skies, but where is that funding coming from now that is the pilot program?
So right now it's through our other Family Resource Centers grants. So I think I'm funded out of 4 grants. One of my staff is funded out of 1 grant. 2 of the others are funded out of 3 grants. So it's kind of all, so when we have to just, like do a 15-minute time study, it's not that attractive because there's a bunch of grants funding us. So, but it's Family Resource Center grants, SNAP grants, parents, parenting education, child prevention grants, and Title 4B grants. Did I miss any? And then Wiley is Title 1D.
And so are the grants that we're seeking, are they to expand services that we already currently are doing at Desert Skies, or are they to add additional services?
So they would be just continue on the services.
Okay. Thank you.
At the same level of funding.
Thank you.
This is Nita. Just a quick question because I'm not familiar with the grants and how the whole program works, and I'm sure you guys have a million metrics that you use to measure, but if you could just give me an example of like one metric that you're using to measure the program that's given you the yes, this is working, this is why we want to expand, just so I could wrap my head around it.
I can answer that for the parenting grants in that we use the protective factor surveys. We also use pre and post tests with the parents regarding the programs they're using. Lisa and Wiley, help me out, and Katie, help me out with metrics that we would use for Title 4B or FRC?
Yeah, so for some of the other grants, it's related to parents setting and attaining goals. We also have some other parenting goals with some of our other grants. It also includes our work with Washoe County Human Services Agency to be serving families that are in the child welfare system. We also have some goals around budgeting, education for families. And I know that I'm missing a couple, but those are the ones off the top of my head. I'll probably think of some others later.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
That's a good question though, Nita. So for instance, our work with child welfare, we say that the families that accept our services won't have a substantiation in the 90 days after we've started services with them. So
I
we're
just
always
remembered another one.
yeah, and we're always counting backwards on our fingers. So
another one is also, and this was new for this current fiscal year in our Title 4B grant, was to collaborate with our foster care liaison who is in our Children in Transition department, who is in our intervention department, of which the FRC is one of the 4 programs. Anyway, to provide services to families that have recently been reunited after the children had been placed in foster care. And that's going really well. So we'll be continuing that next year as well. Hopefully, funding permitting.
Great, thank you.
I guess this would be the good time to talk about that we are branching out a bit, dipping a toe into kind of new waters with our Title 4B grant. And I'm not gonna explain it. I think Katie would be a good one to explain the SARBs because it was her idea. And maybe Lisa, you can explain the CSEC and just that it's a tiny part of the grants that we just wrote for.
I'll go ahead and take the CSEC, Katie.
Okay.
So this was a little bit of a curveball, but this year when we received the grant application for Title 4B, which is basically child abuse prevention funding, they have a new focus on CSEC, which is commercial, help me out.
Commercially
Commercial
sexually
child-
exploited children.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that is actually one of their target areas. This is not an area that we have focused on before. So this was new to us, but we did realize that if we were going to compete for this funding, that it's something that had to be addressed. So we reached out to Awaken. If anyone is not familiar with them, they are a local nonprofit that provides support services to people that are sexually exploited or involved in prostitution and maybe wanting to make a change from that. So they provide supportive services. We did reach out to them. Now this Title 4B funding would be focused on children that are sexually exploited, but we did start a new partnership with them, which is very interesting. So they will be referring to us and we will be providing support services to these families. We've also reached out to Human Services Agency, who we've worked with forever, but obviously they are involved with many of these families as well. So we've started a conversation about mutual referrals with them for this population as well. And this is very exciting as part of this process also, because we kind of realized as we were moving forward with this, especially through SARB, which Katie is going to talk about, which focuses on students with chronic absenteeism, that is actually can be a big indicator of sex trafficking. So we are actually next month, our whole intervention department Awaken is providing training for us on signs of sex trafficking and how to respond to that. So we're actually going to be doing a couple of those, but we've got the first one scheduled for next month. So very exciting. Was not expecting that, but some very nice partnerships have come out of that.
It was very much out of our wheelhouse, and we kind of had to do some backbends to figure out how it worked. But what we realized is that although, I mean, we're not going to be paying a power bill for a youth that's being trafficked, but a lot of times it's not what you think. The families are actually, the kids are in the family's home, so the family needs support. So not all of them are on the streets. A lot of them are, but a lot of them are in their families, and they're quite literally being trafficked at school and go home just like regular kids after school. And so this has been a huge eye-opening for us. You know, education is always good, but I think we spent some uncomfortable moments with our eyes like, what? So good to know those things though.
And then we'll be also taking data on our SARB students, so those students who, it's our Student Attendance Review Board. And with all of those students, we make up support for giving resources to families who are, their attendance levels are pretty high. So we want to make sure that we have the resources, and they also, within that, we'll have somebody from Human Services on the board as well. So within that review board, we can be able to give resources right there and be able to count those students as well and families.
So thank you, Katie. So Katie is our newest director, but she, we introduced her at the last meeting. And so she's got a lot of experience within our department. And we realized, as we are wont to do, we shoot ourselves in the feet all the time. So we work with these SARB students, which again stands for Student Attendance Review Board, are chronically absent kids, and we haven't been counting them. And they absolutely have child welfare involvement, or there's barriers to their education. And so, so we definitely wanted to get credit for the work that we're doing. And we've been doing the work all along, but now we just want to say, we really do it. So thanks, everybody.
And Brenda, when you say that we haven't been counting them, is that meaning that there's some dollars that we can capture in the grant that is being applied for in the Title 4B?
So Lisa, I'm going to defer to you on that, in that we say that we're going to serve a certain number of kids that are in the child welfare system. And oftentimes the families that we work with are involved, but they may not disclose. And so, and it's that privacy conversation. But these kids we know have involvement, and we just really haven't been counting them. So I don't know that it's additional dollars. Again, it's just really fleshing out the work that we're doing with the numbers supporting that work. Does that make sense?
That's
Lisa?
exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's just giving us one more thing of showing what we do in the scope that, of work that we do. So it's not for additional dollars, it's more to show all the things that we are doing within our family resource centers.
Awesome, thank you. Are there any other questions around the grant funding or grant applications or funding status? I know this is always a passion of mine, so I'm always gonna ask if there's any other opportunities that any one of the council members knows about, hears about, to please let Lisa know, so that Lisa can let somebody know that we can get somebody from the grants department the application, so that we can just find another dollar somewhere so that we can get funding through the family resource centers. So if there's anything that you think might work for our family resource centers, please send it up somebody's way. Lisa, I think, is who I communicate with about funding all the time. So thank you, Lisa, for your work. Thank you, Brenda. Thank you, Wiley. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you all as well.
Item 2.03 is a presentation and discussion on Family Resource Center's year-to-date data and outreach events, including future community events and volunteer opportunities that the council members may attend. This is for information and discussion. I'm going to send this over to Wiley. I think he likes to start it and then he passes it on. So we'll start with him.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start with the FRC numbers, and then if Lisa, you want to go ahead and take the outreach and events attended. So hopefully you guys are able to pull up the numbers and see the numbers served. This is the same data that I've been presenting on previously, and it's just kind of a running total. So you guys can see there the different dates, and it's kind of going by quarters there, and then you have a year-to-date total at the end there. So since our last meeting to this last month, you can see in that third column all of the numbers that of families, the children, and some of the stuff, the services that we've been providing. Numbers have upticked a little bit with the addition of our new staff. So the addition of having Katie as a director, and then the addition of our 2 full-time staff, we've been able to kind of serve a lot more clients and help out a lot more people. So you kind of see how those have gone up a little bit. And then, I mean, just still a lot of emergency housing assistance and rental assistance. Those are always continuing on. We referred out a lot to other programs with the state and Reno Housing Authority, and a lot of programs receiving some funding to help families. So we did refer out a lot, but we have helped quite a few families, as well as with energy assistance. We're still doing the SAFE program, SAFE vouchers, and the emergency assistance have really been a high number for us. Lots of people calling to get some assistance there. So you can see, I mean, we've processed between SAFE and EAP over 433 applications. So the majority of our families that are coming in are getting us the utility assistance, or calling in for that as their first piece. And then we're able to kind of wrap brands around them and figure out what else is going on, and then help them with the rest of the things that you guys see here. So food and nutrition is also really high. And then also our referrals. So some of the stuff that we can't provide directly out of our resource centers, we can refer out to other agencies. So almost every one of our families, or one of the individuals that calls that needs a resource, gets a referral or multiple referrals. So if anyone has any questions on any of the data there.
I have a question, Wiley. How do families learn about you?
So it's a multitude of different ways. We are working with, and Katie will hopefully go into this in another action item, with CallRail. So we've implemented a system with the phone system to be able to track where clients are calling from. So if they're calling from the internet with Google, or if they're getting referred from SAFE, or they're calling from 211, or however they're getting our number, we're able to track that, and then we'll be able to report back on that. So that's something we're kind of implementing right now. We do track the referral source when they come in. So we ask them, who referred you today? And that can be a couple of different areas. We have another agency, so multiple agencies referred to us: Washington County Human Service Agency, Children's Cabinet, kind of a plethora of different places will refer. And then we have NV Energy, so those all qualify in there. They have a self-referral, so if they've heard about us from a friend or family member, or they've been here before, or kind of like word of mouth, that's a self-referral. And then any of those other agencies, they might kind of trickle in. So we're kind of working on that piece to track them, but we don't have like a solid data on where that's actually coming from, but we're hoping to implement that and have some more information for that in the upcoming meetings that we have.
I don't know if Wiley mentioned schools or not too as a referral source, but definitely a lot of referrals from the schools as well.
Yeah, thank you.
And Brenda, I know for parenting, gets referrals even from like social workers at the hospitals. So that's another source.
So social workers at the hospitals, the case workers at Washoe County Human Services Agency, And I have a pretty strong relationship with 3 or 4 pediatrician offices and also through WIC. So, and they may call for parenting and then decline our services for that, or we can't fit it into their schedule, but then we are able to, you know, put other supports in place to help them with other basic needs type thing. So.
And we are also have social media too, where we market to resources available through the Washoe County School District website.
Okay. Yeah, I always wonder who doesn't know, you know, and that's always the mystery for any sort of outreach is how do you reach the people who don't know about the services? Not that you need more work, because I know it's something we talked about in another meeting was that delicate balance between getting the word out, but also not overloading the team that's already pretty overloaded. So it's that tracking system you described, Wiley, sounds interesting in terms of just even being able to track the phone call, you know, if folks are not sharing who referred them, if it's not an agency or a path you already have set up, like Google Phone, I wouldn't have thought about that. That one's interesting.
Yeah, so, and Vanessa, you're exactly right. I mean, think about the fact that Washoe County School District, just the school district has over 8,000 employees. So we want them to know about us, and a lot of them don't. But even if half of those numbers referred one family, that's 4,000 people. So.
Awesome, Lisa, do you want to talk about the outreach efforts that?
Sure.
FRC
So,
have
as you can see, it has been a busy couple of months. Do you want to just take a minute to look at it, or do you want me to go through it? Is there a preference?
I'm good either way.
I like when you go through it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just stop me if you have any questions. Okay, so let's see. We continued with Mobile Harvest out at Sun Valley in collaboration with the food bank, about 250 families each month. We have weekly food distribution at Sun Valley and Sparks. We are continuing with SNAP outreach with the food bank, where their outreach workers come on site to help people apply for SNAP, which is good. There was a family health festival at Reed, which we provided flyers for. So this also is a food bank event. Typically, we would be on site for that. They have limited the number of agencies that they're having on site, but we have provided flyers for that. And interestingly, there was supposed to be another one of those next month, I think it is, at Bernice Matthews, and a couple other ones coming up, but they've actually hit pause on that for right now while they kind of regroup and try to figure out what's the best way to serve the community with those. So those are on hold right now, but something that we do always enjoy participating in. The family stability monthly meetings is what I mentioned before, also in collaboration with the food bank around the community schools model. Several of us attended a Nevada Housing Coalition webinar. I think I might have sent out that link last time. Community Health Improvement Plan meeting. I sat on that when they announced the updated plan through Washoe County. That was interesting. I attended a webinar through UNR regarding DACA. That was also interesting. I was invited to share FRC information at a supervisors meeting of the welfare division. So that was good. There were about 20 supervisors on the line there that really were not that familiar with the FRC and were really happy to get the information. So that was a nice opportunity. Some of our staff participated in the National Family Support Standards training. This is through the National Family Support Network. They actually have webinars, and many of them are free. So is anybody on that list? Does anybody get those emails? I'll try to send that out to you, and that way you can see what's coming up. They're very interesting. And then we actually just went through a pretty rigorous Family Resource Center standards training last fall, and lo and behold, they've updated the standards now. So there's a new training coming out that Wiley and Katie and one of our family advocates will be attending virtually next month. Any questions so far? Okay, April's Child Abuse Prevention Month, which Brenda is very involved with through the parenting grants. Do you want to say anything about that, Brenda? You're muted.
Kind of explains my background.
Yeah.
So, yeah, the Pinwheels for Prevention or Go Blue Nevada. KOLO did a really nice spot on us. And there was planting at the legislature this year. Of course, COVID has limited that, but there's still over 800 pinwheels at the legislature in Carson City. We're required to participate, but it's always kind of a fun event. And in April, for everybody that attends our food distributions, everybody gets a pinwheel. And some of the parents ask about it, and we'll fill them in on. The pinwheel represents the fact that every child should have a carefree childhood, and that it just raises awareness about child abuse prevention. So, but we're involved with a bunch of different events with Children's Cabinet, KOLO, all Boys and Girls Club. We're all doing them virtually or just adding a hashtag or social media to that. So.
Okay. Let's see. Brenda also participated in the Food Bank Strategic Partner Conference. Nevada Housing Coalition, I'm realizing, is on here twice. Sorry about that. Our collaboration meetings with Washoe County Human Services Agency. So in addition to expanding our relationship with them around CSEC, we also are expanding our relationship with just inviting them to refer more families that are involved in the child welfare system. And we actually got one of those today. So those will be trickling in. Our collaboration meeting with Awaken. Oh, this is nice. Catholic Charities donated a bunch of Easter baskets. We have a really nice partnership with them, and they were distributed through our whole department. So people came and picked those up and got them into the hands of families. And they also just donated some brand new shoes as well. So we're in the process of moving those out, tennis shoes. Brenda participated in the JTNN coalition meeting, as well as the SAFE board meeting. And happily, I don't know if everybody remembers, SAFE is the emergency assistance program through NV Energy. So if a family is struggling to pay their bill, they can call NV Energy and see if they qualify for SAFE. And then we are an intake site for the SAFE program. So that's how we get a lot of people in the door of the Family Resource Center. So previously we were receiving, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was $12 per SAFE application that was completed. And now it's been bumped up to $15. So it's a nice little revenue source for us as well, like a little emergency fund.
Lisa?
Yeah.
Are we the only site that does that, or are we one of many sites that does that?
I think we're the only one in Washoe County. CSA used to do it, but Brenda, do you know, is CSA still doing it?
So we are the only site in Washoe County. Senior Services has the ability to do it, but they did 2 safes last year. Just for context, the Washoe County Family Resource Center did 905 safe vouchers last year. The next closest in the rurals was Carson City. They did 143. So Elko did, I think, 111. So 905 came directly from the school district's Family Resource Center. So, and it's an easy way to get families in. And then it also then opens the door for how else can we serve you? What, let's make some long-term goals. A lot of the families that we see for the emergency safe program are one and done. We never see them again. We'd like to set goals with them and case manage them, but alas, they fly away. So, but it is a great way to get somebody in through the door, help them immediately. We earn money, they get their power bill paid. Last year it was over $385,000 for Washoe County. power bills that we paid.
And I'm sorry, those referrals they have to come from NV Energy, or can they come from other referral sources?
They can come from anywhere. So the referral needs, NV Energy determines the eligibility, but we often, especially if it's somebody that may not be, doesn't know how to ask the right questions on the phone, maybe it's a senior, something like that, we can qualify them. We have our reps at NV Energy. So for instance, I have a former coworker that used to work with us that sent me, I haven't heard from her in a few months, Griselda, sent me a screenshot today of somebody's power bill. So I know she's not just saying hi. So that's how I'm going to go pre-qualify this family. And then she did say, oops, sorry, should have said, hi, how you doing? But
awesome. Thank you for that.
Okay, so a little bit about SAFE there. Okay, this is interesting. The state of Nevada has a KIF and KIN program, and they have approached us about collaborating with this. So basically, it's providing training to informal childcare providers, oftentimes extended family or friends, neighbors, whoever might be caring for children, to provide information around child development, safety, child abuse prevention, things like that. So they have reached out to us, so we're not quite sure what kind of form this is ultimately going to take, but nonetheless, it's an interesting collaboration, especially with our parenting programs. So we look forward to having some kind of role with this program. So you'll probably hear more about that down the road. All of our department staff participated in the UNR Northern Nevada Diversity Summit. We also did last week or the week before the Tall Cop substance abuse webinar. If you're not familiar with that, it's very interesting. It's free. There is a website, Tall Cop, that talks about drug trends. It's very eye-opening. So you feel free to Google that, maybe look for another training, he probably also has a lot of information posted on his website. So something to be aware of, very informative. And our ongoing collaboration with the Resilience Ambassadors. I don't know if you remember this from quite a while ago, that the health department got a grant for Resilience Ambassadors to be reaching out to the people that were affected by COVID. And then we had them with us part-time. Well, when the COVID numbers were going through the roof, they had to pull back from us. But I think they're all back now. I know mine just started back today, and I think the others have already been back. So nice to have that extra help. So that is what we've been up to. And coming up, we're going to participate in Catholic Charities Project Homeless Connect. This will be an in-person event on May 5th outside at Catholic Charities, where we'll be providing information and resources. We are going to attend the virtual Family and Community Engagement Conference in June. The Truckee Meadows Tomorrow Speaker Series is an ongoing, I think it's a monthly series, and they have a lot of interesting topics. There's one tomorrow, or was it today? Today, tomorrow, next week. So feel free to check out that website. And Brenda and her staff are going to be doing the Parents as Teachers training to fulfill requirements of the parenting grants. So any questions?
Is Jonathan on? Rochelle is in the meeting and needs to be let in. But I messaged him and I got nothing. So Rochelle's in the waiting room, so we could wave to her. So.
Sorry, y'all.
We have access to see her. There she is.
There she is. Thank you.
While we're waiting for her, we will. I have a question. I know Wiley and I were talking about it earlier, but was anybody able to attend the complex trauma and student learning and trauma sensitive schools that the school district was holding this week? That I know our dear Rochelle was presenting at earlier. Not that I saw her face or anything, but I know she was presenting.
I would love to have attended, but I had scheduling conflicts with that this week. So I'm hoping that it might be offered in another way, shape, or form at another time that I could tap into it, because it did sound very interesting.
Hi, Rochelle.
Hi, they did record all the sessions.
Oh,
They are
good.
posted on the website, so you guys can access the PowerPoints and the sessions.
Awesome. Yes, I would encourage you guys to do that. It was very informative from the ones that I was able to attend.
We
From
have
a different hat that I wear.
One more session tomorrow, a community school panel.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa, for sharing your amazing outreach efforts that you guys do. I always am amazed by the work that you guys do and the work that you continue to do. The one question I have before I turn it over to the council is if there is an event that you guys could highlight, and I will ask each of you individually, Wiley, Brenda, and Lisa, if you guys can just tell us what your favorite event is and why it is your favorite, that would be great. And we'll start with Wiley, because you're in the Hollywood Square next to me.
Yeah, I think Lisa touched on it. The Tall Cop Says Stop presentation about substance use and some of the drug use that is kind of gone throughout the United States and throughout, where he does lots of presentations and kind of does a lot of deep digging when he goes to different places and different cities. And there's a lot that goes into companies manufacturing secret pockets and relating their backpacks and hats and clothing gear to the drug culture. And so it was really cool to see how that's kind of all intertwined. And so with my position with working with juvenile services and working with working on SARBs and working with youth all the time, some of that stuff I may miss. And so, or I may not identify. So I thought that training that we just recently did was, again, really informative and really gave us a lot of good knowledge and a lot of good things to look for when we're working with students and looking for that kind of stuff. So I thought that presentation was really awesome.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing, Wiley. Brenda, you're in the square right beneath me, so you get to go next.
Hollywood Squares. So so I don't think it was one of the outreach events, but just the knowledge that we've learned about the CSEC, the commercially sexually exploited children, and our partnership with Awaken. We just live in a little bubble. I live in a little bubble, and this was really eye-opening. And then I have to say, just for sheer volume, attending the Strategic Partner Conference with the Food Bank, and just we overuse this word for the last year, but the pivot that the Food Bank has done to meet the needs of the families in this community during a pandemic, I don't even know how they did it, but the numbers are staggering. So that was just really impactful, and knowing that, families have food on the table. So good question, Scott.
Thank you, Brenda, for sharing. All right, Lisa.
Okay, so I echo what has just been said. So definitely Tall Cop was very informative and eye-opening, as well as the meeting with Awaken. So I'm just really glad that this partnership has come about, and I'm looking forward to the training that they're going to be doing for us next month.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. Rochelle, is there anything on the outreach list that you would like to share as one of your favorites, and why?
I do want to say Awaken again, because I was able to go over spring break and Jen gave me a tour of the center to talk about what they're doing and the supports that they're providing. And it's incredible the things that they are doing. And so I'm really excited to be partnering with them. And they are also looking at having additional support next year in terms of like an educational site there. And these are just preliminary talks, but very often when we're trying to bring youth back that have experienced this, we don't want to put them into like a really large high school where they're going to get lost. They need that smaller setting. And so hoping that with the support of Family Resource Center and the school district, we can continue to support the work that Awaken is doing, because it's really incredible the things that they are doing. And Jen talked about doing an intake with a child as young as 12 and an adult as young as 60. So they are really working with all ages and supporting both men and women and children, boys and girls. And so I'm super excited to be able to continue to work with them. We're also doing some work, and Wiley, maybe you talked about this, with Human Services Agency, who is also partnering with Awaken and serving the same population. So we talked with those folks too, to strengthen that, so that we'll be getting referrals from both Human Services Agency and Awaken.
Thank you, Rochelle. All right, Katie, you're up. Is there anything that was on the outreach list that really stuck out with you, and can you share why?
I think agree with what everybody has said, but I think it just shows how important it is to be able to collaborate with all the resources in our community, because then that allows us to make sure that they're getting the services that they need. So I think it's just kind of ditto to what everybody said, and just continuing to, work with community agencies.
Thank you, Katie. Council members, are there any questions that you have on the data that was presented or the list of outreach that has been done? No, my Hollywood Squares friends.
We ask this every meeting, and I just don't ever want to lose it, is, how can we support, between now and our next meeting? At the last meeting, we talked about, what people can donate if we have folks who are looking for places to give. And so I have in my notes, like grocery store, gift cards, roll of quarters, maybe awareness. But is there anything else as you're looking ahead? Since we won't be able to, meet like this as a group, that we can just be aware of, or thinking it might be, the things you're going to forward to us, Lisa, or things we can attend in support of or represent. But just always want to ask that, what can we do to support between now and our next gathering?
And thank you, Vanessa, for keeping that in your forethought and keeping it on our minds. I appreciate that.
I don't know if you were waiting for a response on that, but I think, definitely just, being part of the council, attending the meetings, believe me, letting us know that we have your support goes a really long way. Your interest in what we're doing and your support. Certainly, if you want to donate something here and there, that's totally fine. We'll definitely put it to good use. But I think, sharing information, helping us increase visibility about the Family Resource Centers, being a sounding board, you keeping us in mind if you hear of any events that might be good for us to attend, or of course, like Scott mentioned earlier, any funding opportunities. So I think just continuing to support us and sharing information is huge. And thank you all for that very much.
Thank you. In the summer, how do the needs change, if at all? With kids being, we're coming up on summer break, and I imagine a lot of the services that Wiley updated us on are going to continue to be relevant, right? With housing and food and utilities. But is there anything else that emerges over the summer that maybe people don't think about in terms of support for families or kids?
Can I say childcare is a big thing. So just that like summer program, and that can be expensive for families, but they need it so that they can work. And so that's a big thing. Food also. So Northern Nevada Food Bank, they're really good at doing kids cafe, but still needing food. And then the district is going to be offering a lot of summer school programs this year to kind of help give kids an opportunity to catch up with some of the stuff that they've missed out on. And so I don't know what that's going to look like. And I saw Lisa go, I think Lisa has something to say, but my guess is I think the eviction moratorium expires, Scott, May 30th, I think.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering what that's going to look like June 1st.
Mhm. You and me both.
So usually like utilities assistance goes down in the summer, and this summer it's not going to because families are still haven't paid some of their bills. So this year is going to be a bit of a challenge, I think. But yeah, daycare, because we do get more calls from Child Protective Services through Reno PD, children home alone, because mom has to go to work and kids are home alone. So, but Child Protective Services doesn't want to punish those parents. We want to provide resources and say, what can we do?
Also, as the beginning of the school year draws near, people are interested in school supplies and sometimes uniforms and things along those lines.
Awesome. Thank you for that input. Any other questions, comments, or concerns from the council? Nita, I just want you to know I keep looking at your picture and I'm like, oh, she's frozen. But that's really just a picture of you.
No, Spectrum is
No,
having
I
an
think-
internet outage, so I'm trying to do this with my phone and it's not working. The signal keeps going out too, so I had to turn my camera off to try to get it.
No, you're fine. I was just like, oh, she's frozen. She doesn't want to talk. But I just
No, I was just wondering, like, she just looks so chill and so relaxed. And I just know that at the end of the day, I'm like this old haggard in here. So I like it, Nita. So
Me too. All right. So that was item 2.04. We will move on. Oh, no, I'm sorry. That item 2.03, we will move on to item 2.04, which is information and discussion of the Family Resource Center's upcoming publicity, including the use of CallRail, a business communication platform for child abuse prevention month. This is for information and discussion only. Is this the item that is going to Katie?
Yeah, I
Awesome.
can start off and anybody can kind of jump in. But the exciting news is that we have started using a call system within our Family Resource Center. Within this, we will be able to do multiple things. One, being able to have a direct line that calls to our centers that will allow us to, one, press either one for Sparks, Desert, Sun Valley, or Wooster, Central Reno. So then that way, if nobody answers, then it goes to semi-call. So we're making sure that we're answering all phone calls. Within that, we can also it's going to be our big tracking system. And this is what's going to be able to help with our metrics, like we had talked before in our previous conversation, is that we can be able now to track to see how many incoming calls are coming into our center at any given time, and kind of throughout time, right? Like if we are tracking to see maybe our volume is higher in the winter compared to in the summer, or vice versa. But now we will be able to say, 30 calls a week come to Sparks, 30 calls come to Central Reno. We can be able to really track that. On top of it, we have made phone numbers for each type of marketing system. So whether we have our phone number that's located on our website, whether or safe, or flyers that go out to our district, now we can be able to see where our phone calls are actually coming in. So it just gives us a better idea of who is calling us, where it's coming from, our volume, and being able to make sure that we are not missing any phone calls from when anybody comes in. On top of that, we can text message out to clients. So it's also a safety piece for our families too, or our staff. So we're not having to use personal cell phones and phones. So everything is, we can be able to use those numbers from our cell phone, from our office line, but it's going to be our new way of being able to track incoming calls and where they're coming from. Any questions on it?
Sorry, I'm just trying to research it from whatever's out there on the internet about it as you're talking about it, so that I can understand it. I guess I do have a question. Is this something that is an app-based program that is
So
downloaded?
it's multiple things. So you can be able to, one, you can call from your computer, so from your desktop, or it is an app that you can put onto your phone. So at any given time, you can be able to, and this I think also helps during the pandemic too. If for some reason we were to have to close Sparks and have to work from home, those calls won't just be stuck going straight to our Sparks number. We can now transfer those to our cell phone and be able to answer from there. So it kind of has given us another reason to kind of think outside the box.
Awesome. What are some of the, I mean, you talked about the good features that happen. Is there anything that you foresee being something that might cause a barrier to the centers that may have already been worked through or may come up that needs some guidance from someone? Like, is it an IT issue that might, is there any big IT issues that you foresee, or is it?
I think we're just, I mean, as we go, I'm sure things always kind of come up and see how you can fix them. An exciting thing too is that we'll be able to integrate CallRail with eLogic to get that data.
Oh.
And we'll be able to track, right? You can track how many new calls a month compared to those who are previous clients of ours. So again, trying to see, you know, is it only our previous clients that are coming to our door, or are we bringing in new clients? It's allowing us to really take a look at who is contacting us and where is it coming from. With anything, I think there always can be glitches, but so far we've been able to kind of work through anything that has been.
Awesome, thank you, Katie. Is there any questions or comments, concerns from the commission, the council?
I'll just add on that too a little bit. CallRail also allows us with that process with eLogic to really track how many times they're calling us, track the time and length that we're meeting with clients, so we can see how it correlates to how much time we're actually spending with clients, and then we'll be able to kind of, with eLogic, measure those outcomes, kind of like Nita was asking about earlier. So, you know, how long does it actually take if a family is in crisis? How many visits, how much time are we spending with them to move the needle to get to those outcomes and get to them to stability? So eLogic will really help with that as well. And then a little bit also to add, we also set up Google businesses. So each center has a Google business now. So if you Google Sparks Family Resource Center, Sun Valley Family Resource Center, or Central Reno Family Resource Center, those will all show up as a business on Google. So we're also using that for publicity as well. And Google has really cool algorithms and really cool data tracking. They do show how people are connecting with you. So if it's a direct search of your center or your name, or if it's by services or products that you offer, and it kind of shows you how they're getting to your page. And then it shows how many are viewing your page. And then if they're requesting directions, if they're using your phone number, if they're accessing any of the information, your website, it kind of shows you all the things that they're interacting with through your Google business. So we're hoping to use some of that data as well. Like I think Sun Valley has had over 4,000 searches, and people have looked at their site over 4,000 times. And then Central Reno and Sparks about 2,000 times. So people are looking at us, and we're getting out there, but seeing how we can directly correlate that, and are they just looking us up, or are they calling us? Are they looking for directions, or kind of what those pieces are? So hopefully we'll be able to integrate that a little bit too as well.
I think that's what's going to really help with us moving forward when it comes to our grants too, because we know how many people are calling us on a daily basis who are looking us up, but now we'll have the numbers to show that the volume is huge and that these resources are needed in our community.
Awesome. I'm excited to see some of those numbers, and I'm sure Nita is as well. Nita likes numbers, and so do I.
Yes, I do.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you, Katie, for that presentation. I appreciate it.
Of course, thank you.
Item 2.05 is information and discussion on future meeting dates on the Council of Family Resource Centers for the 2021 to 2022 school year. This is for information and discussion. And it looks like Lisa has unmuted herself. So take it away, Lisa.
Okay, so currently we've been meeting the third Wednesday, and if that continues to work well for everyone, then we're proposing starting back up in September. I'm keeping it to the third Wednesday at 6 o'clock, so it would be September 15th, December 17th, March 16th, and June 15th.
We can only nod our heads. We cannot take action on this, so we're just nodding our heads.
That probably should have been an action item. Maybe.
I agree.
Such a good complier, Scott.
Well, Rochelle's here now. We have to comply. She's like the police officer.
A hammer.
She's the truancy officer. She doubles as the school police. And
Oh,
Susan's here. She's here to keep us in line. Maybe at our next meeting, we can take action on that.
I think definitely, Scott, we could put that as an action item.
Awesome. All right, thank you for that. Our closing item is public comment.
Can I interject really quick? Thank you for all of you responding. Some of you, your terms are coming to an end in June 2021. So everyone here responded. I appreciate that. Not everybody is coming back. And so we may have some new advisory council members that we'll have to interview for over the summer. So I'll keep you guys updated on that.
Awesome. Thank you. With that, we'll move to item 3, closing items, which is item 3.01, public comment. This is the time that comments are reserved for the public. And the public is invited to, at this time, discuss topics not specifically addressed elsewhere on the agenda. Have we had any email public comments?
We have not.
Thank you. Item 2.03 is our next meeting announcement. It sounds like it will be September 15th, but that will be determined. We will hear from either Lisa or Rochelle or Wiley. And with that, it is 7:05. And before I adjourn the meeting, I want to thank everybody who has served with us, and those of you who are not returning. I appreciate your time that you have served on the council, and your service has not gone unnoticed. And I, as the chair for this last year, have appreciated all of you. So I want that to be reflected on our record that I have appreciated you and the time that you've served with us.